You may not always see it. You may not always feel it. But if you've been chosen, there is a divine shield around you, invisible to the naked eye, untouchable by dark forces, and impenetrable even by the strongest demon. You didn't earn this protection through perfection. You were marked for it the moment your soul agreed to walk this path. And from that day forward, you became untouchable, not because of who you are, but because of who walks with you. Every battle you've faced, every attack you've survived, every storm you walked through, that wasn't just survival. That was divine protection in action. You weren't lucky. You weren't stronger than the chaos. You were covered, guarded, carried. And now, you're waking up to the truth. There are forces that tried to take you out, but they couldn't. Because not even the strongest demon can reach the chosen one, whose name is sealed in light. Before we go deeper, watch this video till the very end. This isn't just a message, it's a spiritual alignment. If your soul feels this, if it resonates with your spirit, write your warmest wishes in the comments and type 144, not just to show love, but to release energy into the universe. Wishes carry vibration. Vibration creates shift. And when we collectively align with that frequency, transformation is inevitable. Now, chosen one, show your light by liking this video and subscribe to the channel. And let's step into this together. Now hear this clearly. Chosen one, your protection isn't natural. It's supernatural. This is why so many things that were supposed to destroy you couldn't even reach you. This is why people who tried to curse your name only cursed themselves. It's why the weapons formed, but never prospered. Because there's a barrier between you and the enemy that no dark force can penetrate. That barrier is purpose. That shield is your calling. You were picked out of the crowd, not for status, but for service. And when heaven assigns you a mission, it assigns you security. But don't get it confused. Your protection isn't passive. It's active. It's dynamic. It surrounds you every time you follow the voice inside. Every time you turn down that invite. Every time you trust your intuition. Every time you walk away instead of reacting. That's protection. That's divine strategy. There's a reason the attacks didn't work. There's a reason you weren't destroyed. There's a reason why. Even when it looked like you were surrounded by darkness, you still had light left in you. It's because your soul was sealed. Your steps were ordered. And no demon, no jealousy, no manipulation, no curse could override that divine signature written on your life. But it goes deeper than just being protected. You're preserved for a higher purpose. Preserved because you are the interruption to the generational pattern. Preserved because your voice carries frequency. Because your presence disrupts strongholds. You don't even have to say a word. Your very energy convicts the darkness. That's why some people were so uncomfortable around you. That's why they attacked you without cause. It wasn't personal. It was spiritual. The enemy saw your light before you did. Demonic forces sensed your power before you had language for it. And so, they tried. They tried to use people, tried to confuse your mind, tried to send temptations, distractions, chaos, anything to throw you off course. But it didn't work, not because you were perfect, but because you were protected. Your destiny came with coverage, your anointing came with armor, and your silence has been louder than the enemy ever expected. What you carry, chosen one, is not just a gift, it's a threat to darkness. That's why you've been through so much. That's why it felt like you were always under pressure, because the enemy doesn't attack what isn't a threat. But what the enemy didn't account for is the level of divine backing you came with. You were born sealed. You were born covered. You were born set apart. Every time you survived what was supposed to break you, you weren't just enduring. You were witnessing protection in motion. Every tear that didn't stop your growth. Every betrayal that didn't block your blessings. Every loss that became a lesson. It was all divine orchestration. You didn't just get through it, you grew through it. And you didn't grow alone. The spirit that watches over you never sleeps. It sees what you don't. It reroutes what's hidden. It blocks what was meant to harm you. Sometimes it shows up as delay. Sometimes it shows up as rejection. But in hindsight, you'll realize that delay was protection. That rejection was redirection. And what didn't reach you? It wasn't meant to. You were never meant to be common. Never meant to blend in. Never meant to follow the crowd. You are the anomaly. The one that broke out. The one that refused to fold. The one that stood in the face of darkness and chose light, again and again and again. And because of that choice, you were elevated, quietly, spiritually, strategically. Now the enemy is still watching, still trying. But it can't reach you, not anymore. Because the old version of you, the one that doubted, the one that hesitated, the one that questioned everything, that version has been stripped away. And what's left now is unshakable. Your shield is stronger than their schemes. Your path is brighter than their projections. Your calling is louder than their curses. Chosen one, this is your confirmation. You are protected, not just by luck, not by chance, but by divine design. And there is nothing the darkness can do to undo what the light has already sealed. This is just the beginning. There's a reason the chaos couldn't consume you. A reason the storm swirled around you but never destroyed you. A reason why the attacks were intense, but your soul remained intact. The truth is, being chosen does not mean you won't be tested. It means your protection is built for the fire. It means no matter what comes against you, it won't stick. It won't take you. It won't define you. You've been targeted, spiritually, energetically, emotionally. Not because you're weak, but because you're dangerous to darkness. You carry light that exposes falsehood. You speak with a tone that breaks illusions. You walk with a presence that interrupts spiritual warfare without even trying. And the enemy knows it. That's why your life hasn't been normal. That's why you've felt isolated. Why betrayal found you even when your heart was pure. Why people changed up for no reason. Why your peace was disturbed without cause. Because there's something about you that cannot be ignored in the spiritual realm. You didn't ask for it. You didn't sign up for it. But your soul agreed to it long before your body was born. The chosen one is always a disruption. Not because they try to be, but because the truth they carry cannot exist in spaces built on lies. You were never meant to settle. You were never meant to belong where mediocrity reigns. And so life forced you out. People turned on you. Opportunities were delayed. But in the delay, in the denial, in the destruction, there was divine protection. Because not every open door is a blessing. Some are traps. Not every connection is alignment. Some are assignments, meant to destroy your frequency. And when you carry the anointing of the chosen, heaven will block access to anything that isn't designed for your destiny. Even if you don't understand it in the moment. You might have cried when they left. You might have begged for things to work. You may have questioned the silence. But looking back, you'll realize that silence was the loudest form of protection. The betrayal was a blessing. The rejection was a redirection. Because had you stayed where you were, you would have lost yourself. And no weapon formed against you can prosper, because no weapon formed within you has survived. The real battle wasn't external, it was internal. The self-doubt, the fear, the overthinking, the anxiety. That's where the enemy launched his fiercest attacks, not through demons in the dark, but through subtle thoughts in your mind. And still, you won. You silenced the voice that told you you're not enough. You rose up from nights where the weight felt unbearable. You kept moving forward when everything in your body said, quit. And that, chosen one, is why the demons couldn't reach you. You're not just protected from what's outside, you've been fortified within. And now, you're different. You don't move like the rest. You don't entertain every conversation. You don't engage every energy. You don't seek validation, because you've already been verified by heaven. The chosen one walks with unseen armor. You might look ordinary, but what surrounds you is extraordinary. Your steps are guarded, your energy is monitored, your future is under divine surveillance. And the reason you've been preserved is because your assignment requires protection most people will never understand. You're not here to impress, you're here to impact. And impact requires purity, precision, discernment, which is why your path has been so narrow, why your heart had to be tested, why your trust had to be broken and rebuilt. Because now, you don't just have protection, you have vision. You see through the fake. You feel the shift in spirit before anything's said. You walk into rooms and instantly know if the atmosphere is aligned or off. That's spiritual power. And because of that sensitivity, you don't entertain the same chaos anymore. You don't get dragged into low-frequency wars. You don't defend your position because you know who you are. That knowing is your shield. That clarity is your weapon. That inner stillness is louder than any storm. You were never meant to fight every battle. Some things were designed to collapse the moment you stood still. That's divine authority. That's what chosen ones carry. And now, no matter what tries to form, you move differently. The enemy may study you, may send distractions, may try to reroute your focus. But the chosen don't fear distractions. They rise above them. You don't react. You respond. You don't chase. You attract. You don't beg. You align. Because once you've seen what divine protection feels like, once you've survived what tried to break you, once you've realized that no darkness can touch what is sealed in light, you stop playing small. You stop apologizing. You stop explaining why your path is different. You were set apart, and now you stay unreachable. You don't need to see every enemy to know you're protected from them. You don't need to hear the gossip, read the lies, or witness the plot. When you're chosen, the protection around you moves faster than the attack itself. There are forces that tried to bind you, but they broke themselves trying. There are people who smiled at you while cursing you behind your back, and yet they wonder why nothing worked, why their words didn't reach you, why their plans fell apart. It's simple. You were covered before they even thought of you. That's the truth the world can't see, that when you are divinely protected, evil exhausts itself trying to reach you. It's not that the attacks didn't happen. It's not that the setups weren't real. It's just that you're sealed, spiritually coded, energetically guarded, divinely insulated. There are things people sent your way that reversed on them without you ever having to speak. That's what protection looks like when it's spiritual. You don't fight the battle clears itself. This is the level of covering chosen ones carry. You don't just walk through fire, you carry a frequency that puts the fire out when you pass through it. And the more you walk in your truth, the more that divine armor strengthens. That's why clarity is protection. That's why knowing who you are is protection. That's why healing is protection. Because when you truly understand your power, you don't react like you used to. You don't argue with chaos. You step over it. You don't try to be liked. You try to be aligned. You don't look for safety in others, because your safety is spiritual. There is no demon, no curse, no hex, no jealousy, no gossip, no weapon, no illusion, and no manipulation that can undo what the Most High has sealed. Chosen one, they tried to touch your peace and found only stillness. They tried to mess with your mind but found clarity. They tried to bind your steps and watched you rise higher. And now they wonder why you're unshakable. It's not pride. It's not ego. It's understanding. You understand that when you were chosen, you were assigned a layer of protection that made you spiritually untouchable. That's why your energy confuses people. That's why you intimidate without trying. That's why you're often left out, misunderstood, or suddenly cut off. It's not rejection, it's recognition. Their spirit recognizes what yours carries, even if their mouth denies it. You were never like them. You don't process the world like them. You don't engage like them. Because you don't belong in the chaos. You belong above it. You operate in realms they can't access. You receive insight they can't decode. You hear things in silence that others miss in noise. And that's why demons can't reach you, because their language doesn't match your frequency. You don't even need to block people anymore. Your vibration does it for you. This is the difference between those who speak about spiritual power and those who live it. The ones who live it don't need to perform. They don't need to post it. They carry it. And when you carry divine presence, the spiritual realm knows your name. Hell knows your name and trembles. Heaven knows your name and defends. You're not just a vessel, you are a force that breaks cycles, a force that ends generational patterns, a force that silences demons not with shouting, but with silence, with obedience, with alignment, with faith. You've seen too much not to believe anymore. You've survived too much not to trust anymore. You've felt too much not to know anymore. That what surrounds you is real. That your covering is real. That every time the enemy tried to reach you, it ran into a wall of light and fell back into the shadows. That's the life of the chosen. You don't need to warn your enemies. You don't need to explain your path. You don't need to convince anyone of your power, because you're already moving in it. And they can sense it. Let them wonder how you keep rising. Let them ask how you keep glowing. Let them watch, confused, as blessings keep showing up after every season meant to destroy you. They'll never understand it. Because what protects you is unseen, and what shields you was never up for debate. There's a reason why your peace feels unnatural to people who live in chaos. why your silence speaks louder than their noise, why you can walk into a room and shift the energy without saying a word. It's not arrogance, it's not attitude, it's alignment. And that alignment makes you untouchable, because you no longer respond to every invitation to chaos. You no longer engage just because someone tries to provoke you. You've reached a place where your spirit is too expensive to spend on confusion. Chosen one, you didn't just survive spiritual warfare, you were refined by it. That fire didn't just burn you, it awakened you. It made you aware of how sacred your energy is, how fragile peace can be, and how fast discernment can save your life. You've learned to protect your time, to observe in silence, to leave when the atmosphere shifts. You no longer force connections. You no longer shrink for approval. Because now you understand. Your presence isn't random. It's anointed. And that anointing comes with spiritual resistance. Because the moment you start walking in truth, falsehood starts reacting. You don't have to attack it. Your light already convicts it. That's why certain people can't stay around you. It's not that they don't like you, it's that their demons are uncomfortable with your clarity. Your obedience threatens their comfort zone. Your boundaries challenge their manipulation. Your growth exposes their stagnation. You were never meant to blend in. You're the contrast, the interruption, the divine reminder. That's why some people turned against you. Not because of what you said, but because of what you represented. You represented freedom in a place where bondage was normalized. You represented wholeness in a space where brokenness was culture. You represented spiritual clarity in a world that thrives on distraction. And for that, you were targeted, but not touched. They may have tried to isolate you, but it only elevated you. They may have tried to discredit you, but it only sharpened your voice. They may have tried to block you, but the covering on your life is not negotiable. You were built for this, not just to be protected, but to be a protector, to stand as evidence that light still walks among shadows, to remind people that truth cannot be silenced, to show the world that evil can't win, not when the chosen walk in full awareness of who they are. You see now why your discernment had to be sharpened, why you couldn't keep that old crowd, why you had to be pulled out from places that didn't nourish your gift. Because your destiny requires purity. Your purpose demands discipline. And your protection only functions at its full capacity when you're in full alignment. That's why you're no longer confused about separation. You see it for what it is now. Divine filtering. Not everyone can go with you. Not every place can hold your light. Not every connection was meant to last. And when you try to force what God is filtering, you suffer. You lose peace. You lose clarity. You weaken your covering. That's why the law is simple now. Go where your peace leads. Leave when your spirit pulls. Stay when your soul settles. Because the more you obey, the more invisible you become to the enemy. Your obedience is your cloak. Your silence is your sword. Your clarity is your defense. And your presence, when aligned, is your protection. You're no longer living on reaction, you're living on rhythm. And that rhythm keeps you in sync with divine timing. That timing moves you into the right places before the wrong energy even shows up. That's why you often arrive before the attack can. That's why you see through manipulation before it masks itself. That's why you're preserved, not just physically, but spiritually. Because you don't walk like everyone else. You walk with something holy. And when you carry the holy, the unholy can't hold you. No spell, no jealousy, no envy, no gossip, no demon. Nothing sent against you can succeed because it's not just you walking. It's the force behind you. You're protected by intention, guarded by design, hidden in plain sight, moved by something greater. And the more you trust it, the stronger it becomes. This is why you've had to walk alone, why the road narrowed, why the crowd thinned, why the room went quiet. Because God is elevating your covering, and elevation requires separation. But don't be afraid of the distance. Be grateful for it, because in that distance you'll find refinement. In that silence, you'll hear your guidance, and in that solitude, your authority will rise. The world will see the glow, but they'll never understand the isolation that built it. That's the life of the chosen, unseen by many, unreachable by most, but covered in full. You're not an ordinary person, and that's not a compliment anymore. It's a fact. An ordinary person couldn't have survived what you did and still stood tall. An ordinary soul couldn't have carried light through the darkness like you did. An ordinary heart would have stopped praying when everything fell apart. But you didn't. And that's why you were protected. That's why nothing could touch you. Your protection wasn't just to shield you from the outside, it was given so your light wouldn't go out. Because the real target wasn't your body, it was your frequency, your voice, your presence, your energy. And that energy is now awakening. You're quieter now, but stronger. Simpler now, but sharper. Maybe more alone, but never unguarded. Because there's an invisible army walking with you, not just to defend you, but to direct you. Not just to hide you from harm, but to prepare you for your calling. Your mission is big, so big that the wait along the path was necessary, so sacred that every loss in your life was a cleansing, so deep that you were never meant to stay on the surface. You were pulled into the deep so that when you rise, your roots are strong. You were broken so that when you heal, you can help others heal. You were left in silence so that when you speak, your words carry divine fire. That's why you're protected. This protection isn't just about invincibility, it's about internal clarity. Because now you know not every spirit matches your frequency. Not every path was built for your feet. Not every voice deserves your attention. Your guidance no longer comes from outside, it comes from within. And because of that, the noise outside no longer disturbs your soul. Gossip doesn't reach you. Toxic atmospheres instantly reveal themselves, because your vibration has risen, and those who rise cannot return to what they've outgrown. Yes, people have turned their backs on you, but they weren't really rejecting you. They were rejecting the light within you. Environments rejected you because your presence exposed their masks. Remember this, chosen one, your light can't be silenced, because its source is not you. Its source is divine. And what is divine cannot be defeated. Your existence is a disruption. Your stillness is a battle cry. And your persistence, your refusal to quit, is the answer to prayers you didn't even know you were carrying. You were protected because your moment is coming. You were preserved because your voice will awaken others. You were hidden because you are not broken. You are commissioned. The enemies won't understand. Old circles won't recognize you anymore. Some will dismiss you. Some will downplay you, and that too was part of the plan. They weren't supposed to believe, because miracles only shine where belief runs out. While you were being erased in their eyes, you were leaving a mark in the heavens. And now, everything is aligning. You don't need to force anything anymore. Just walk. What's not for you will fall away. What's not meant for you will close off. Whoever isn't part of your assignment will drift. Because your life is no longer about what you want. It's about what you've been entrusted to carry. And whoever carries a sacred assignment walks under sacred protection. You're not just protected, you're guided, watched, anointed. And when the time comes, the darkness will once again be stunned by your light. And they'll all ask, how did they never fall? And the answer will be simple, because they were chosen. And chosen ones cannot be touched. You've walked through fire that was meant to consume you, and came out glowing. You've been hunted by spirits that couldn't touch you, surrounded by darkness that couldn't dim your light, and doubted by people who couldn't see your calling. And yet, here you are, still standing, still glowing, still rising. This wasn't luck. This wasn't coincidence. This was divine preservation. You are not protected because you're perfect. You are protected because you're positioned. You are not safe because the world is kind. You are safe because your purpose is untouchable. The strongest demon couldn't reach you because heaven already sealed what hell can't unlock. So now, release the weight of the past. Stop explaining yourself. Let go of what was never meant for your future. You don't have to fight anymore. You only need to walk, aligned, focused, protected. Your life is not random. Your glow is not ordinary. Your survival is not accidental. You are the proof that chosen ones don't fall, they transform. And when destiny calls, not even the strongest demon can answer in your place. Now rise, shine, and walk in the untouchable light that has always been yours. The world is watching, and you're just getting started.